like to welcome with his ass to this ring. Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Or what the heck, why not? I'm WB Ward.
And I'm Chip Douglas.
Back once again for another SCI Wrestling.
Yes.
I spelled it right.
You did.
I spelled it right.
I am proud of you.
Excuse me. Now, see, it left me all choked up. I actually got it right for a change. How you been doing this week, man?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
Man, okay, movers, shakers, believers, non-believers. We had an interesting week in professional wrestling.
Yes.
First off, let's go ahead and start with the heavy stuff and get it out of the way. And it was some heavy news about a heavy person.
Yes. Nelson Frazier Jr.
Yep.
Better known for...
I like his TV show with it where he plays the psychiatrist in Seattle.
What?
Frazier.
Oh, Frazier?
Yeah.
I never watched it.
Oh. I have a feeling it's not the same one.
Better known to the wrestling fans as Viscera or Big Daddy V.
Yeah.
Or
no disrespect.
Or Mabel or King Mabel. Passed away at the young age of 43 years old from a heart attack.
And, you know, we were talking about this a little earlier. I remember watching this guy a long time ago. He must have been like 18, 19, or 20, you know, when he was at the heat of his career with the WWE.
Well, if you do the math, I mean, it has to be early 20s. Because he appeared in WWE, I think, like 93, 94, with Men on a Mission, which is a tag team with him and Mo, or a guy named Mo. They were the tag team. And if you think, you know, 43, 2004, he's 33. Man. You know, he's probably like 23, 22 years old.
Had to have been. I mean, yeah. he looked so much older because I thought, seriously, and all jokes aside, I really did. I thought he was about my age. I'm 55. But when I saw his relatively young age, it was just, really? And he died of a heart attack? And I know you also told me he had recently lost 100 pounds?
Yeah, he recently lost 100 pounds within the past year. But you're still talking, he's 6'9". Yeah. He was 400-something pounds. So he went from 6'9" to 400-something to 6'9" and 300-something.
Speaking as one who's had his share of cardiac events,
yes, I
can really, I really empathize.
Right.
Man, that's just 43.
Taken before his time.
Man, that's incredible. You know, there was a philosopher who once said, "No one lives as long as a dead child," and Methuselah died young. And stop and consider, yes, only 43. That doesn't, by our management of time, seem to be very old. But he still lived his whole life in that respect.
Right.
No one lives as long as a dead child because the child has lived their own life. And from that respect, even Methuselah died young. So for whatever it's worth, see, I can have moments.
You lost me.
Oh, well, I'll explain it later with crayon drawings.
Thank you. If you don't mind.
Okay, so what else has been going on?
Well, there's big news coming out. I mean, we got a lot to cover in such a short time. We're going to cover WB Network. We're going to briefly go over Elimination Chamber. But first one I want to go to, and it's going to fit right in with my tweet of the week, which is coming up here in a couple minutes.
Okay.
We're looking at this Monday's Raw, which is the same day as the launch of the WB Network. Huge returns going to happen.
Yes.
One that we know 100% for a fact is the one, the only... the immortal Hulk Hogan.
You got it, brother.
So,
brother.
So, and they've already announced on WB.com that he's being brought back as the host of WrestleMania. So that's what he's been doing. So he's not going to be wrestling. And my sources have told me he's actually not even cleared to wrestle. So physically he cannot do it. He is not cleared by the doctors. So they only bring him in just for the sake of notoriety.
I wonder if it's doctors that's not clearing him or a psychiatrist.
Probably both.
Okay, could be.
Probably both. So I'm excited. I mean, me being a child of the late 80s, 90s, me being a Hulkamania fan, it really excites me.
The red and yellow shall run again.
You know, but Hulk Hogan hasn't always been a ratings boost. And that's going to lead us.
Monday.
That's going to lead us to my next segment here,
which is
the tweet of the week.
Hey, what timing!
Woohoo!
Michael, your timing is excellent.
Oh my gosh, impeccable. And the tweet of the week this week is brought to you by WWE Creative Humor.
Yeah.
And this references to what we were just talking about. Hulk Hogan will be the host of WrestleMania, and in parentheses, because he really turned things around so well in TNA.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that doesn't turn out to be a prophecy and a prophecy in motion. Okay. Now I know where I'm wanting to go with this show, but let's go ahead and let's talk about Raw.
Right. So we got the Hulk Hogan return.
Right.
It's going to be a big show. It's going to be a really, really big show because of the fact that it's the night after Elimination Chamber. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have all the aftermath from that, and we're really starting to build for WrestleMania this Monday. So this is where it starts.
We didn't plan on doing a prediction show, but since we did bring this up, who's going to be holding the titles?
I don't see anything changing.
No,
I don't see anything changing as far as it goes. I think we're just going to see Randy Orton walk out of Elimination Chamber as the champion. I think Daniel Orton's going to probably be the last one in there with Orton, and somehow or another he'll get screwed out of it, and that's the way the pay-per-view is going to end. But for Raw, I think what I'm more excited about more than anything is I think, and this is my prediction, we will see The Undertaker Monday night.
That could happen. Because, I mean, seriously, with Hulk Hogan showing up, could Taker be far behind?
This is the week to do it.
Yeah.
Because they want this network to be, the biggest thing since XFL. So,
oh yeah, that was a thriving success.
So they're doing they're going to do everything in their power on this Monday Night Raw to make sure it is a success. Mm-hmm. And having Hulk Hogan on there is awesome. But having the Taker come back for the Monday night to build his WrestleMania match starting this Monday is going to be huge. I think the big question that no one really knows, except I still don't think they know, is who is he going to face.
Okay, let me change the subjects dramatically.
Go ahead.
You ever watch the Olympics?
I actually have. I love the Olympics.
Okay. Super Bowl?
Oh, of course.
Oklahoma Thunder games?
Die Hard.
Okay. What do those three events that I just talked about have in common with the XFL? With our short-lived football league from the WWE?
I don't know.
You know, whenever they do the shots from the camera that flies over the action?
Oh, yeah.
That technology was developed.
It did.
By the XFL.
It did. Yeah, I remember that now.
That is a true story.
Because there are three big things about the XFL that made a difference. And one, the big thing to me was that camera. Two, you could have your nicknames on the back of the jersey. And three, you were allowed to date cheerleaders. And that was the advantage of the XFL over NFL.
It remind me to quote you the cheer from our head cheerleader when I was in high school.
I will.
Of course, and I won't say it here because this is a family-friendly show, but we did. I will say this: we had my high school had the only football field I ever saw that didn't have turf. It was just a dirt field.
Well, So I heard a lot of rumors.
Yes.
That Moses was a really good football player. Can you testify to that?
No, I cannot. But the only reason why it was a dirt field was because our cheerleaders kept grazing at halftime. And we threw around a set of stone tablets is all we did. Okay, we got down our lame prediction for Elimination Chamber, which our prediction is there are no predictions.
Now, I do have something to go into Elimination Chamber about.
Okay.
Shield versus the Wyatts. What do you see happening there?
I think that's going to be the big draw of the night.
Right. To me, that's if I were to order the pay-per-view, which I'm not, that would be the reason why.
I can't say that I honestly know who's going to win. I think if you were to pin me against the wall, I think it's going to be the Wyatts are going to win. As a direct result of that, the Shield is going to fall apart.
I completely agree because I do see a triple threat match with Ambrose, Reigns, and Seth Rollins happening at WrestleMania. So, I completely agree. And then we're going to see the Wyatts build off of something. I can see them getting involved in Elimination Chamber with John Cena because I do see that happening at WrestleMania. I see Wyatt versus Cena. So, yeah. I'm really excited to see it. I really kind of wish they actually kind of saved it for WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. I think this is kind of a lame pay-per-view to put such a cool match on.
Yes.
But I think where this match is only happening because it's going to be the breakup of the Shield.
Now, when you're talking about lame pay-per-views, one pay-per-view in particular that comes to my mind was the most recent Night of Champions pay-per-view. As a matter of fact, Cox Cable set a very dangerous precedent. because that pay-per-view, this so help me, this is the truth, that so many people called Cox Cable to complain about that pay-per-view. They actually issued refunds.
Really?
I mean, that is a dangerous precedent to be setting, especially at this time when the WWE is getting ready to launch off this WWE network. Right. So I think they're going to have to watch their programming and their storylines a lot closer now, because now they're going to be holding their feet to the fire financially. But since we have approached this subject, the pay-per-view coming up Sunday night has an auspicious classification that no pay-per-view up to this point has been able to claim, and that's the fact that it is not going to be available everywhere.
Exactly.
It's the only one where at least one television provider that I'm aware of, and possibly more, might be lining up, who's refusing to carry it because of the demands, apparently, that are being made by WWE. From what I understand, they're asking for a much larger cut of the pie. And at least that's the reason that I had heard as to why this one television provider has decided not to carry the pay-per-view. Now, that itself is going to present a slippery slope for both the WWE and television carriers as a whole.
Right.
Because let me ask you a question. This is your marketing test for the day. Okay. Marketing pop quiz.
Okay.
Let's say you're a wrestling promoter.
Okay.
You have a giant pay-per-view coming up.
All right.
Where would you find your largest potential audience? Would we be talking about over-the-air television, cable, or satellite distribution? The operative word here being potential.
Potential? Mm-hmm. Oh, geez. I'm going to say cable or satellite. What?
Wrong on all three terms.
Oh.
Anybody who's listened to our program will notice that over a period of time we have covered the fact that WWE has been opening up offices with a full-time staff in places like Germany, Africa, also in in the Iraqi area,
the Middle East.
The Middle East, thank you very much. In Mexico. Right. And it never really occurred to me. I was thinking about this the other day. This is all groundwork that has been laid to stoke the fire, so to speak, for the WWE network. Your largest potential audience base, the internet.
Yep.
So to that point, I'm going to give WWE kudos. I can't help but think that had to have been at least part of the plan for opening these foreign offices around the world. Because I got to think about that. I thought, that doesn't make any sense. There's no way we transmit into those countries because our satellites, well, gosh, whether you're talking cable or satellite distribution, you're talking the continental United States, maybe Alaska and Hawaii sometimes.
Right.
But outside of that, nothing else. So when you look at that from a global standpoint, yep, the internet's going to have the larger potential audience. Hence the WWE network.
Right.
So what are your feelings on that we know at least one television provider is not providing
the pay-per-view.
This upcoming pay-per-view?
Well, it's such a rare thing because of the fact that it's never happened before.
Right.
WBE is venturing out on something that is completely new to wrestling fans and wrestling companies alike. And so to be able to pay $10 a month to watch unlimited amount of programming and special shows that are being developed just for WBE Network, and be able to watch every single pay-per-view from WrestleMania on, all for $10 a month, it's an incredible deal.
It is a deal.
It's fantastic to be able to host all that information, all that product just for $10. With my business degree, the only thing that I'm not seeing add up is I have a business degree, by the way.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Is the fact that with the pay-per-view providers, they charge about $50 $50 a month for the pay-per-view. And so now you're looking at the price of one pay-per-view for individuals. You can get 5 months of WBE Network and 5 pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Including the big one.
Yeah, but not including the one that's not being held by this one television provider.
Right. Except for Elimination Chamber. So it's it's a double-edged sword, really. It's going to hurt them
Who, the provider?
I think it's going to hurt the provider more than anything.
Well, it could. It just depends on if any other providers jump on this bandwagon.
Right.
Because when the subscribers to this one provider discover, hey, I can't get my Elimination Chamber just because I'm with you guys,
right,
they might switch providers. And,
right,
you know, wrestling fans are just enough. They might do that. They may jump ship just for that one pay-per-view. So that's a possibility.
Because I always made the argument, and I had a conversation with a trainer with DirecTV at one point,
mm-hmm.
and he brought up the NFL. Oh shoot! NFL ticket, Sunday ticket.
Yes.
And the only reason that I have DirecTV now is because the NFL Sunday ticket.
Uh-huh.
And he made the comment of, well, if DirecTV got rid of Sunday ticket, they would not lose that much customer base.
No.
And I'm like, to me, that's an asinine comment, because of the fact so many people, you can get cable wherever you want. The reason people go to DirecTV because of Sunday ticket.
No, I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But the one thing that's different in that particular thing is if they ever lose the NFL Sunday ticket, what will happen is the NFL will do what I think the WWE should be doing, and that's starting their own premium channel that's available on cable and satellite.
I think the reason they didn't do that is because the fact that you'd have to have the cable providers behind it,
mm-hmm.
and because originally that was the plan for NFL Network, WBE Network, is it was supposed to be a cable channel. Mm-hmm. That was the whole premise of WBE Network.
And Cox Cable, in fact, had WWE
on demand. Yeah, on demand. But a lot of providers, I don't know who in particular, were not too hip on the idea of offering this channel.
Now, this is exactly where I think WWE is making their mistake by taking on their own WWE network. You know how they're being viewed by the television providers?
How?
A competitor.
And they should be.
Yeah, they are now a competitor. They are no longer a partner, and that is a game changer in and of itself. Now, the television providers here, be it Cox Cable, Comcast, DirecTV, Dish Network. You have Uverse from AT&T. You have all these guys. Still, the only thing they can offer, and this is something very important, the only thing they can offer is an American audience. They cannot offer anything else.
Right. Because
technically they're just not set up to do that. I think DirecTV has some Latin American countries, very few. I think Dish Network does, but very, very few. And the cable companies definitely don't, because it's kind of hard to run a cable across the Gulf of Mexico.
It's true.
That'd be a bit rough. But at best, that's as much as we can provide the WWE or any other kind of entertainment provider.
Right.
That's it. That's the extent of it. Now they're trying to make theirs go globally. The only thing that I have to ask WWE, and this is where I think they're making their mistake, just because they have offices in their countries, is that going to be enough? Is that actually going to give them the kind of fan base? Are they really ready for that kind of marketing to determine whether or not it's going to work by seeing if they're going to have enough people subscribing? Is that going to be enough for them to do that? Or could they potentially be shooting themselves in the foot financially by making this kind of a step?
I don't think so. Because in this age now, cable providers are really becoming obsolete. And what
in a way, yeah.
and what I mean by that is with the technology with smart televisions.
Mm-hmm. Netflix would be another good example.
Well, that's going to be my point.
Okay.
With Roku's and Chromecast, you're able to have Netflix and Hulu directly on your TV just via internet. So a lot of people, and I know people that have done this, and I'll be honest, I've thought about it myself. Netflix, $7 a month. Hulu, $7 a month. There's your movies and there's your television.
Okay, but you're forgetting something.
What?
In the past, let's say 5 years, how many televisions have you had to buy because the old television went bad?
I haven't had to buy a television in probably about 8 years.
Okay. In the past 5 years, how many computers or cell phones or smartphones have you had to buy because the old one went bad?
Oh, geez. I've been through so many smartphones.
You see, that's my point. The technology is so unpredictable. Right. So many people are going to be having technical issues just left and right. My big thing is I'm going to miss seeing the pay-per-views on my television screen. And the popular thing is, well, all you got to do is run an HDMI cable from your computer over to your TV. Voila, problem solved. No, the problem's not solved. You're still going to have buffering. You're still going to have all the traditional things that you have. And if you're on anything other than a cable internet system, which is, at least here in the United States, is the fastest speed available on computers, right, for now anyway, unless you're on that, you're going to have some issues trying to watch these shows.
I don't think so. I think it's rolling just like Netflix and Hulu does.
Well, not quite. How long is a pay-per-view?
Was it 3 hours?
Minimum 3 hours.
Yeah.
Minimum. We're talking about an awful lot of data.
Right.
And don't forget too about the relatively, and it is a lot larger amount of people than you would think. The amount of people who have internet providers who have data caps on their service. They're liable to watch one half of a pay-per-view only to have their system completely lock up. As soon as they hit their data cap, they're done.
I mean, it's always hard to tell.
It is, and it is a person-by-person basis.
Right. And it's, because we kind of come from different worlds, because of the fact that, I come from a little bit younger generation, and so then this new technology excites me.
Yeah, well, sure, and it does me too. But, I've replaced enough pieces of equipment to understand, I don't know that I'd really want to put all of my apples in this one technological basket.
But boy, just the way I don't know. It's always you kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah. And of course, now you're also talking about, how many times has your identity been stolen because of the TV shows you watch versus how many times has your identity been stolen by the websites you go to?
Good point.
This becomes a concern.
Right.
So, the WWE has a long road to hoe, and I am sure their IT department has been looking at all of this. But their IT department can only go so far.
Yeah, right.
Because now the rest of it's going to be things like, their internet speed connection for the customer, the type of computer the customer has, the type of smartphone or tablet they're using, how their connection is, where it's coming from. Is it from satellite? Is it going to be from cable? There's just so much things that are way outside of the WWE control. But with them becoming a competitor of the television providers, my biggest fear is this. I can honestly see it happening where professional wrestling will no longer be on television at all.
Well, I think it would be a prime opportunity for competition. Because I
was wondering about that, but I'm really doubtful because of the scale that WWE has set up. It would be very difficult for another promoter to fill that void.
Because in this year, we're in 2014. By the end of this year, we're going to have probably 2 new major organizations that are going to try to compete. Now,
I will say this. With all the current talent that WWE is not using and will probably lose, this does kind of feed the field a little bit.
Right.
If they can kind of spread that around. And there certainly is a lot of good former WWE talent that's out there still that's looking for work.
Right.
And a lot of good talent.
Oh, yeah. And that's the reason, one is, for me, is AAA in Mexico is coming over to the U.S. And this is actually funded, and it's going to be produced by, oh my goodness, his name escapes me, Kevin Burnett, who is, is the Survivor guy. The guy who created Survivor and all the reality shows. He's the mastermind behind this. But he's bringing in wrestlers in to run it. So one being Conan, who's big time Mexican wrestler and was in WCW, and another one is Jeff Jarrett is teaming up with Toby Keith as the financial backer to start a new organization as well.
Toby Keith, the singer?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no joke. Yeah, no joke. They're going to start their own organization. Because Jeff Jarrett is no longer affiliated with TNA, Total Nonstop Action. They'll probably go bankrupt probably soon, anyways. And so we're going to see some competition. So let's be interested to see how they position themselves differently from WBE. And so probably what they'll do and what they should do is just kind of sit back, wait for this network to launch, and see where their weaknesses are. That way they can try to capitalize on WWE's weaknesses. Situate the positives, hide the negatives.
Now, as far as the future of pay-per-views on television providers are concerned, I know on this one television provider that's not carrying this Sunday's pay-per-view, they're viewing all the future pay-per-views on a show-by-show basis. I can see that pendulum swinging either direction. I can see that pendulum swinging in the area of, no, we're not going to carry any at all because we're not going to be making much money off of it. Or it can actually work against the television provider as well, where they wind up actually losing some of their subscriber base because they're not carrying the pay-per-views.
Right.
So I can see that pendulum swinging in either direction. And I think there's enough blame to go around between the television providers and WWE on this particular instance, because if there's anything WWE is doing that I think is really going to be self-destructive, it's their apparent attitude that they're portraying right now of we are big now. And I think that's a very dangerous attitude to take.
Well, Monday's gonna be a fun day.
It is. Monday night's going to be great.
Because for all our listeners out there, they're offering a 1-week free trial starting on Monday.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to take advantage of that free 1-week trial and then try to figure out after that if I'm actually going to subscribe to it.
Now we do not endorse any particular product or anything like this, but I will say this: my internet service provider is Cox Cable, and I got to tell you, I've never really had any major issues.
Me either.
At all. And I think I think anybody who's blessed to have the Cox Cable service or a service similar to that, I don't really see any big problems.
Right.
If their computer is less than 5 years old, you should be good. Anything else? Yeah. Lots of luck, folks. That would be the best thing I can tell you. But yeah, Cox Cable is going to be the tops in my book as far as that's concerned. I'm going to see if I can get a discount off my bill for that station.
You should.
Oh, man.
You should. Good luck.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like that's going to happen.
If it works for you, let me know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe that one, the Cox did offer refunds on that one
on the pay-per-view. Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe so. Maybe something can happen on that. But folks, if you see a pay-per-view on TV, don't call your television that you don't like. Don't call your television provider and ask for your money back. First off, if they do, hey, that's wonderful, but you're really taking advantage of them because it's really not their fault. That your television entertainment providers like Cox and Comcast and all the rest of them, they're like pizza delivery guys. They're responsible for getting you the product to your doorstep, but the toppings on the pizza were actually put on by the people in the kitchen, and the delivery boy didn't really have anything to do with that.
Right.
So, be nice. I mean, I think Cox was being a little stupid by giving the refunds.
It reminds me of like when people used to get so upset and want refunds on on boxing matches, big boxing matches and UFC fights, and just because of the fact that the main event ended in like 30 seconds. Well, guess what? This is fighting. The name of the game is to knock the other person out.
Yeah.
So you kind of pay for what you get here.
You get a big bruiser in the ring against me. It's not going to go very long.
Seconds.
Yeah, but that would no. You can put the flag at half staff just as soon as I get in the ring. It wouldn't take much longer than that. So don't. Only one time in my life have I ever complained about a movie that I went to see, and I did ask for a refund. Didn't get it, of course, but I only did it just to make the point. That thing sucked.
What movie? I'm curious.
In Search of Winn-Dixie, I think was the name of it.
Oh, yeah, Dave Matthews is in it.
Yeah,
about a dog, right?
Yeah, it's about a dog.
Yeah.
And actually, it did make me cry. It did make me cry.
And you wanted a refund.
The fact that I spent $15 to see that piece of crap made me cry like a little girl. I mean, it was the biggest waste of time and money I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, geez.
No, it was so bad. I did ask for my money back knowing full well I wasn't going to get it. It was just to make the point. Boy, this sucked.
Right.
Anyway, man, that was a quick 30.
We had a lot to talk about. I knew it was going to be a real tight show.
Well, if anything, maybe we provided a little bit of insight. And, when you guys get out, get the pay-per-views, enjoy them. By all means, tune in to Monday Night Raw because that is going to be a landmark show.
Big show.
If you do have high-speed internet, by all means, take advantage of the free preview. Read the fine print, though. Don't be giving away any credit card information unless absolutely necessary. Unless you're ready to do it.
Ready to commit.
If it asks for a credit card and it's just for the free preview, I'd say no. But anyway.
Either way, I'm doing it.
Oh, you are?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing it.
All right. It's a shame you won't be able to see the Elimination Chamber.
I'm okay with that
Yeah.
because SCI will be at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans.
Yay! All right. Well, that about wraps it up for another edition. Stay tuned next week for another edition of